we find that election disputes are time sensitive, and we do not have the luxury of time. Additionally, the honorable member has counsel present. Counsel indeed informed this committee that he is duly instructed to represent the Honorable Gikaria after the PA came, and in our view, this is even a superior representation, and in law, Honorable Gikaria is represented. On the basis of these findings by this committee, we decline the request for adjournment. It is dismissed, and it is hereby ordered that these proceedings shall commence since Honorable Gikaria has been given adequate time, and in any case, his counsel is here who represents him. I thank you.
Chair, we do appreciate your ruling that you've tendered today, but perhaps for the record, you could record our objection to that particular proceeding, and also for purposes of the record, let it indicate that indeed we did provide the medical certificate, and the same has been formally placed on record. Secondly, Chair, we have shared photographs and videos with the secretary of this particular committee, showcasing that indeed our client is currently hospitalized. So thirdly, let it be noted that the respondent's absence is medically explained. We still choose to abide by the decision that has been rendered by this particular committee, but perhaps so that I can get proper instructions, we can take a different time allocation.
Thank you. Thank you, Counsel. The photos that Counsel is claiming have been sent to our secretary when we retreated. When we played here photos of media, which is a public entity, well, is a public TV station, Counsel's rebuttal was that it cannot be verified. Counsel, in equal strength, what you've shared cannot be verified. Mkuki kwa nguruwe daima uwe ni mtamu, na kwa binadamu pia uwe mtamu. Secondly, you say that documents indicating the MP's condition yesterday have been tendered. Please make the record clear that they were not tendered yesterday. They were tendered later. That's the record. And so the adjournments that were made out of grace and dignity that we thought the honorable member deserves. There was no evidence tendered in this committee yesterday to show that Mheshimiwa was unwell. 3, you indicate in your rejoinder that the absence of Mheshimiwa has been explained. Yes, it has been explained by word of mouth. But there's no evidentiary record presented before us to indicate and verify and authenticate that Mheshimiwa is admitted. Thank you. Finally, on the request for further time allocation, we are sorry. Frankly, we are beginning to feel that this committee is being taken for granted. We cannot have granted 3 adjournments, and when we decide we want to proceed now, you say you want time allocation. We are sorry, the commission has a lot of work. All of us actually are supposed to be retreating to Old Kalou as we speak. And so it is ordered by this committee that we'll proceed immediately. Thank you. Prosecutor, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair and members. The committee summoned Honorable David Gikaria, and I will proceed to read the statement of the offense or the breach of Electoral Code of Conduct that he's charged with. The statement of the breach reads that this is a breach of the Electoral Code of Conduct, contrary to paragraph 6A and 6I. The particulars of the breach are that Honorable David Gikaria, who is a member of the National Assembly for Nakuru Town East constituency, is accused that while addressing residents during a public rally in Kalou within Nyandarua County, he uttered words in Kiswahili, and I'll proceed to read the words. Kiswahili is a national language, so this we will understand. And he said, lakini mimi nilikuwa na 250 ya mikutano ya jana. Watu wakaja. I had to go home and get another 800,000 shillings. Jana peke yake. Hapa kwenyu nilitumia milioni 1.2 million. Si niliwaambia mimi nimepewa 250,000. Hiyo ni ya jana, si ndio? Leo nimepewa another 250,000. And he proceeded to say, ulipiga kura sio? Kuna kitambulisho ilikuwa inaitishwa. Hakuna kitambulisho ilikuwa ikiitishwa. Mtu alikuwa akifanya nini? Unaweka kidole. Kama ID haitishwi unatumia kidole. Ufike ujiweke kidole, hakuna ID. Hautaitishwa ID. And these words seems to point out that he was offering monetary rewards to the electorates in consideration that the electorates would attend his political rally. And we find that his words on the issue of the identity cards not being required at the polling station was misleading to the voters, and this was with the view of causing voter suppression. Chair and members, I represent the Electoral Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee today on this matter that I have described. And this case cuts across the very heart of our constitutional democracy and the rule of law. The accused person here is not just an ordinary citizen, he is a member of parliament, he is a prominent office bearer, he is a recognized political leader, and he is the leader of the people of Nakuru Town East constituency. He was voted into that office. By virtue of his position, he owes the highest duty of fidelity and honesty, integrity to the public and to the people he represents, and in this case, the people of Kalou. Instead, during his public address in Kalou, he chose to weaponize his influence. He stood before a vulnerable electorate, and he willfully and maliciously spread falsehoods which were designed to disenfranchise voters, while he was simultaneously boasting of using financial muscles on these innocent and trusting members of the public. We find that his actions breaches the Electoral Code of Conduct, and I will point out exactly how. As a political leader and an office bearer, he is bound strictly by the second schedule of the Elections Act, that is the Electoral Code of Conduct. And by his distributing false information regarding the voting procedures and the voting requirements, and engaging the public in display of voter inducement, the accused directly contravened the code. This code mandates all leaders to promote clean, transparent campaigns and uphold integrity of the electoral process. And as a person in authority, he cleverly employed this tactic to cause actions which may affect the ultimate election outcome. And we want to look at his guilty conduct as here under, that the honorable member employed at the anatomy of malice under the illusion of good faith. Chair, the video evidence where we find fault with, where we find that he did breach the code, shows that the words were calculated, they were deliberate, and they were born out of deep-seated malicious intention. This may be argued as innocent utterances or misstatements or harmless political hyperbole made in good faith. But from a leader who is a beneficiary of the ballots by virtue of holding an office where electorates had to produce their identity cards for him to win that election, that can only be out of malicious intention. Chair, we also see that there was a calculated trap for the vulnerable, because the honorable member is telling the people of Kalou that they do not need IDs in order to vote. This, he's actively setting a trap. He knows very well that on the election day, any voter who turns up at the polling station without an ID will be legally turned away at the polling station. We are sure of this because he is a leader. Again, I say, he campaigned for himself when he was seeking to be voted into office, and he did not tell his voters not to carry IDs. It is only now that he wants to mislead people. We also see that there is intent to disenfranchise the voters through his utterances, which was not an innocent mistake. This was a strategy to lower voter turnout among the specific demographics, or to leave the voters confused, disoriented, and ultimately stripped of their constitutional rights to vote under Article 38. We further note that there is a cycle of exploitation which was displayed by the honorable member, who is telling very happy people, jubilant people, that they do not need their IDs while voting. And he's talking about spending money on them. Why would a leader do such a thing? The answer, Chair and members, is a simple one, that he's substituting his civic empowerment with financial dependency. He wants voters to rely not on their lawful independent power as registered voters, but on temporary benefits of the handouts that he bragged about distributing. His intention is to subvert their minds with handouts and make them lose focus on the ultimate results of their actions. Chair and members, I want to point this committee to the provisions of paragraph 6H of the Electoral Code of Conduct that demands that all those who are bound by this code must refrain from offering any rewards to any person in consideration of such person either joining or not joining a party, or attending or not attending any political event, or voting or not voting, either at all or in a particular manner. The respondent whose words points a calculated money splashing spree for the people who avail themselves to receive these rewards. Apologies, members. I'll repeat that the respondent's own words paints a calculated money splashing spree to the people who avail themselves for these rewards. Chair and members, I further want to draw our attention to paragraph 6I of the Code of Conduct, where it demands that leaders and office bearers, like the accused in this matter, must refrain from any attempt to abuse power or privilege or influence or authority for political purposes, including any offer or reward. The honorable member stood in a podium and he used his position as a leader, and he spread misleading information to receptive and vulnerable members of the public. This is a case about a leader who knows the law, but he chooses to ignore it, and he decided that it did not apply to him. He looked at the voters of Kalou and saw a vulnerable people who can be deceived, rather than citizens to be respected, protected, and be guided. The undeniable video record shows depicts him in a rally, and it demonstrates the willful nature of his deception. We ask this committee to hold the accused fully accountable and to protect the integrity of our elections, and to send a clear message that the law of Kenya cannot be bypassed by arrogance or financial influence, and that the people of Kalou deserve respect. Chair and members, when we gained sight of a video clip that was publicly shared, it was even in the news, national news, it was broadcasted. Your Honor, we took our own, Chair and members, we decided to subject it to authentication just to make sure that indeed what we saw is what everybody else saw. And by so doing, we contacted the Communication Authority of Kenya, that is the platform where all broadcasts go through. And I will draw your attention to our Communication of Kenya report, which is in our files. We chose to seek authentication on a widely shared video by one of the media houses. And what we wanted to find out is the authenticity of the same. We did obtain a certificate under Section 65(8) as read with Section 106(b) of the Evidence Act, which requires that all certification must be made by somebody in authority. And we do have a report in our files which was sworn by one Gerishon Kibarar. In this report, Chair and members, it shows that indeed the video clip was genuine, and that it contained electronic record which information was contained and was derived correctly through the computer in the ordinary course of business, and that their computers was operating properly. It goes on to authenticate the video that was subjected for analysis, and it shows or it depicts the MP explaining to the members of Kalou, or he's addressing them about the issue of IDs. In page 4, there is a photo of the MP as broadcasted, and it shows that the links that we forwarded indeed were active, and any member of public could access the same and even still access the information and listen to what the honorable member were telling members of the public. It shows that this is a live link that indeed existed. For the benefit of the committee, Chair, we may want to look at the said video. But before we do that, I would want to produce these reports as evidence in this matter.
Proceed. Could Council and your team, could you please just move and have a look at what it is that is forming the evidence in this matter? Thank you.
I I had to go home and get another 800,000. Jana peke yake hapa kwetu nilitumia 1.2 million. Jana. Sasa kesho tukiita wamama vijana watakuja. Tusikue na ile maneno ilinipata jana. Na tukakubaliana ya kwamba kila mtu ambaye amekuja akae na asikize. That one was for yesterday. Today, na ndio naomba vijana wa hapa. Kama wengine wametoka Dondori, sikize tu. Na ukitoa hiyo mavi kwa masikio, utasikia vizuri sana. Ndio nawaambia leo tutasema mimi tumekuja hapa wajumbe wangapi? Wanne. Mimi nimepewa wodi ambayo inaitwa Githima polling station ngapi? Mimi nimepewa Githima na nikapewa Nyakiambi. Polling station ngapi? Alafu tuko na polling station moja mbili hapa katika wodi ya Merangine 10 na ngapi? 13. Wale wa ndugu zangu wengine tayari wanaenda mikutano yao kwa kule kama hapa CCM. Siko na mtu na hapo na yeye naye amepewa pesa yao. Unaelewana? Kama ni Kandutura kuna mwingine, kama sijui ni wapi, kila mtu amepewa yao. Namna hiyo. Na ndio tukasema hakuna haja tukuje tufurugane ama tuulizane maswali ama hivi vijana pengine hamjawahi piga kura. Lakini niulize nani alipiga kura mwaka jana 2022? Hapo ulipiga kura sivyo? Kuna kitambulisho kilikuwa kinatishwa? Hakuna kitambulisho kilikuwa kinatishwa. Mimi nauliza kuna kitambulisho kilikuwa kinatishwa? Mtu alikuwa na kupiga kura? Hakuna kupiga kura. Mtu alikuwa akifanya nini? Unaweka kidole? Unaweka nini? Na nyinyi vijana ndio mlijibu. Kama ID haitishwi, unatumia kidole. Alafu unasema ati watu wanaitisha ID wakaide kura. Una kidole ya mtu itakatwa. Alafu mimi niende nikawekelea. Itawezekana. Ni lazima wewe mwenyewe ufike ujione kidole. Hakuna ID. Hautaitishwa ID na hautaitishwa hata ile gari ya kura. Simwambia mimi nimepewa 250,000. Hiyo ni agano, sio? Leo nimepewa hata 250,000. Wananitisha nataka kujua, je, uliongea na wapiga kura wa Githima na Nyakiambi? That is why they are asking for your ID.
So yes, Chair and members, this report contains the links, the video links, the links to the video evidence. And like I told this committee, these links are still live and that information can still be consumed even now by anyone who accesses the link. And that's all, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Commissioners, is there anybody who has a question to the Commission Secretary before I allow Council for the respondent? Okay, Council.
Chair, just one request before we proceed. And I make this request with tremendous respect to this committee. We are only seeking an adjournment sorry, we can take 15 minutes for the respondent to at least prepare for his case. And I ask this with tremendous respect to this committee.
Counsel, once you have made an application for adjournment and we have already pronounced our ruling, why would you again seek a further adjournment in the same matter, in the same session?
Chair, it is in the interest of rights.
In the interest of?
Of a fair hearing under Article 25C.
Counsel, is it your position that an adjournment is in the interest of fair hearing?
I'm not seeking an adjournment. Perhaps you're getting me wrong. I'm not seeking an adjournment. I'm just seeking for at least 15 minutes for us to put our case in order. Just 15 minutes.
No, sorry. We are uncomfortable. Let's proceed.
All right. Honorable Chair, committee members, with respect to this particular case, we were served with a charge sheet. This particular charge sheet was issued on the 11th of July 2026. We were equally served with a forensic report from the National Kenya CIRT. We were not served with any video evidence that the prosecution was relying upon. The same has been played before this committee, whereas it was not served upon us. Equally, Chair, we have not been served with any transcriptions of this particular videos. So I presume the prosecution was only depending or relying upon their documentary evidence. Chair, I look at this particular charge sheet. Honorable Gikaria is alleged to have breached the provisions of paragraph 6A. These particular provisions concern bribery and inducement. They are also alleged to have breached the provisions of paragraph 6L of the Electoral Code of Conduct, which then relates to misleading the voters with a view to voter suppression. Chair, the forensic evidence that has been presented before this committee only authenticates the existence of the video. But if you have a look at this particular cyber investigation report, it does not prove any of the alleged breaches. Chair, with respect to the alleged breach of bribery, the committee has referred to the remarks concerning Kenya shillings 250,000 and 1.2 million. And it has relied upon its own interpretation of that particular speech rather than evidence establishing the elements of paragraph 6A and paragraph 6I. Chair, there is no evidence that has been tendered before this committee that money did indeed change hands. Chair, there is no evidence that has also been tendered before this committee that indeed that particular speech was an offer to the members of the public in exchange of them attending any political meeting. No evidence has been tendered as well that any voter in all Kalou was promised any monetary compensation or award for voting a certain way. Chair, the remarks were simply taken out of context. Chair, if you look at this particular report, is it the report? Chair, if you look at this particular cyber investigation report, the scope of the same is a bit limited. From this report, it confirms the existence of the YouTube upload. It also confirms that the broadcaster is Citizen Digital Channel. It also confirms that the upload was made on 7th July 2026. Lastly, this particular report only confirms that the video was stored in a DVD marked as CSE 295/2026. What the investigation report fails to catch is that it does not conclude that the respondent committed bribery. It equally does not conclude that the voters were induced in any way. It does not conclude that money changed hands. Chair, it also does not conclude that any voter was misled to vote in any certain way, such that if this particular committee is to make that determination as to the alleged breaches, it would not rely upon this particular report. Finally, Chair, let it go on record that it only authenticates the video. It does not prove any alleged breaches. That is all we have from our end.
Thank you, Counsel. The prosecutor, do you have a rejoinder?
Yes, Chair. Indeed, Chair and members. First of all, we did serve this report, which includes numerous links to the video clip which we played before this committee, and it was duly served upon the respondents. Chair, this forensic report cannot point out the offenses or the breaches of the code. What it does, Chair and members, is that it establishes the existence of this video, and it also tells us that it is not manipulated, or it has not been manipulated to fit this sitting. It further tells us, Chair and members, that in confirming the same, as per the certificate which is attached, that the machines that were used to look at this video were working in good order, to establish that indeed this video exists, that it is available, and that it depicts what we have described to this committee as depicting, not necessarily picking out the breaches. I'll say again that this report has the links which I said are still live. The breach of the Electoral Code of Conduct is in the details.
Proceed.
Yes, Chair and members, the breaches that we have identified and that we are complaining and finding fault with is in the details of the words that have been uttered. Chair and members, the words was spoken in a national language which does not require transcription of any kind, because I believe everybody in this room do understand the Swahili language. We did not require transcription to understand what was said in the clip. And further, your Chair and members, we still reiterate that this forensic document depicts a leader addressing people who regard him as somebody who can guide. And by guiding, he did in the way that he knew best at that time. That is all, Chair.
Thank you, the prosecutor and counsel, learned counsel, for your submissions and for your arguments. I wish to thank you. We come to the end of this session. We will be retreating shortly to write the judgment, and we should be ready with the judgment for the media and for the press and for the nation at 3 p.m. today. So please be invited so that we can conclude this matter at that time. I thank you.
Just a minute.